Okay. Australia has officially jumped the shark at this point. They're actually utilizing their military to take people away from their houses and relocate them into certain camps where they can concentrate all these people together in one area. For the safety of society and for the safety, of course, of them as well. I don't ever recall this happening in history before, and I'm sure it will just go splendidly. There's no chance there's anything wrong can come of this. So, the Gateway Pundit has, of course, this article here. Dystopian Down Under, Australian military summoned to relocate COVID-19 positive and close contacts to quarantine camps. Now, real quick in that sense there, close contacts. What do you think they're going to do for any of these protests that happen against the lockdowns, against the mandates? What do they call them? They call them super spreader events, right? Super spreader events. What is a super spreader event? Well, of course, it's an area where COVID could be moving quite rapidly because you're in close contact with a lot of people. There is some truth to, of course, COVID moving among, large groups of people when they gather, obviously, as we know. And they're going to utilize that little bit of truth to lock people into camps who protest against the government. Remember last year, Black Lives Matter was protesting left and right. And they said, well, this doesn't spread COVID whatsoever. But when the right decided to protest, what do you know? Super spreader event. You had the nurses outside saying, they saying, you can't do this to us. Don't do this to us. You're evil. You're against science. But of course, when their side protests, nothing happens. That's what this is going to be times 10. Anyone who protests on behalf of the government, on behalf of the machine, will be allowed to continue about their day and go about what they're doing. But those who actually protest these mandates going on in Australia, which we've seen some crazy protests happening in Australia, they will be put in camps. They will be put in camps and made to suffer, all because they spoke ill against the government, against the mandates, against the officials, against the elites that run their lives. So down here, Australian government is moving to relocate people into Northern Territory with COVID-19 and their close contacts to quarantine camps, or what most people are calling, the concentration areas. Can't say it full sentence because it's YouTube, yay. So, Australian Defence Force called to haul positive COVID-19 cases and close contacts into quarantine. And this video of him basically saying the exact same thing, saying that basically they're going to be pulling people away who have COVID or are close contact to people with COVID and putting them into certain camps they have all across the country. One Twitter claimed that the Australian government is approaching the 7th stage of genocide, which, we have the 7 stages of genocide here. I'm not sure if I can pull this up right here. So, start 1, divide between us and them, which obviously they've done. People are forced to identify themselves, as we have, of course, with the idea of show us your papers. Discrimination, begin to face systemic discrimination, which we, of course, have even here in America, even outside of Australia, we have this, where, of course, you can't do certain things if you're of a certain group. Dehumanization, people being equated with animals, vermin, or diseases, which I had a woman who I was in New York. I went to the elevator. I was wearing a mask and everything. She started screaming at me, saying, "I'm a carrier. I'm a carrier. You can't be in the same elevator as me. You're a carrier. You're a carrier." And of course, I just stepped in her elevator, and just went ahead. All right, see ya, and went down and just kind of jacked her elevator. But I was getting screamed at because she was worried that I might be connected with the disease. Now, imagine if she realized not only was I in the same elevator as her, but I wasn't vaccinated. That was before she even knew anything about me, and she was already saying how much I must be a carrier. You're a carrier. You're a carrier. You're seeing this left and right. People are now looking at each other with this idea that, that you're going to put them at risk just by being. It's utterly awful. Utterly awful. Organization, number 5. The government creates specific groups of police or military to enforce the policies. As we see here in America, of course, all of us were like, hey, Blue Lives Matter. Oh, we're going to lick the boot of the establishment. And then, of course, what did establishment do to us? Oh, that's right. We went to go worship. We went to church. And next thing you know, we find cops blocking the entrance. We sat there and said, well, I'm going to open up my business to make sure, I'll open up my gyms to make sure people can be healthy. Nope. Police are going to show up and start, stiff arming you away and saying, we're going to arrest you if you try to even open up a gym. We want to go to the park. Oh no, the police are going to show up there and enforce saying you can't be even outside. All right, and it just already is happening. All this stuff is already happening. The polarization. Government broadcast propaganda to turn the populist against the group, which, let's face it, mainstream media is their propaganda of choice, and that's been happening. That's been happening before COVID. That's been happening just for a long time now. And now, number 7. Official action to remove or relocate people, and that is where they're at. They are at number 7. They're moving people to camps over there. That is what they're working on. Of course, then it goes on number 8, persecution, extermination, and then, of course, denying anything actually happened. The common stages of genocide. Something that I think most people who've gone through most history classes obviously have at some point gone over, at least in some form or another. So the Australian Army has begun forcibly removing residents in northern territories of Howard Spring quarantine camp, located in Darwin, after 9 new COVID. Only nine. Oh my God, we had 9 COVID cases. Can you believe it? 9. 9 COVID cases were identified in the community of Binjari. I can't say your words. The move comes after hard lockdowns were instituted in the communities of both Binjari and nearby Rockhole on Saturday night. As of November 21st, Australia has a vaccination rate of about 71% and a booster rate of only 1.3%. Not very high. Yeah, there it is. Not very much on the boosters. We'll see how well that ends up going. Now, despite that, of course, here is the chart for how their COVID cases have been. Starting to get more vaccinations and more and what happens? It almost looks like something I'm not allowed to say on YouTube. So you can look at this, see, hey, we started getting more and more vaccines out around this time, and hey, what do you see here? Just saying. Okay, take from that what you will. Take from that what you will. Now, I know a lot of people are going to start saying, James, this is Australia. Here in America, we will not ever let something like this happen. We will never let something like this happen in our country. A country that, of course, loves freedom and loves the rights of the individual. Well, that might be true for a couple states out there. Florida likes freedom. Texas pretty much likes freedom. Most of the southern states love freedom. A lot of the middle states love freedom. Places like Alaska, obviously, typically love freedom. In those states, I can understand your argument. Sure, might not happen in those areas. However, I'll say this. I live in North Carolina, typically considered a southern state. Churches were locked down. All right, preachers got arrested for preaching here in North Carolina. Happened also down in Georgia. I know a couple people who got arrested because, guess what? They decided they were still going to get together and sing their hymns at the church. As the Bible says we should all do. We should all praise the Lord, through multiple different ways, but through song is one of them. That is in the Bible. Is what, Christians are supposed to do. So when you say they can't sing in church, a lot of them take a lot of offense to that, for good reason, mind you, because of course that is their religious right to do so, as well as their right just as a human being to do whatever the hell they want to. If you don't want to do it, don't walk inside the damn church. But it happened in tons of southern states where they oppressed people who were simply doing nothing more than wanting to open up their business and go to church. The cops enforced that. The cops enforced it. Now, again, I don't think we're going to see these camps pop up in the South. I don't think we're going to see these camps pop up in a lot of Republican areas. I think a lot of places are starting to, I like to think there's some kind of awakening starting to happen, at least among a lot of people out there, which is good. But you're really going to look me in the eye and say this sort of stuff is outside the realm of possibility for some place like, I don't know, California, New York, Washington State, D.C.? Come on now. As Biden likes to say, come on, man. We've seen what they have done. I have seen people in New York get arrested for having more than a certain amount of people in a room. I've seen them roll up with 6 police cruisers to stop a party that was taking place above my office. The police don't care about you there. They don't care about anyone there other than themselves. That's why, hey, you know what? I disagree with BLM in a lot of ways, but I'll agree with them in the sense that the cops are a bunch of corrupt, well, I can't say the word, and I don't trust them. I don't trust them to have our best interest at heart. They have their interest at heart. They have the interest of unions at heart. That's what they really have an interest in. So don't think for a second these officers will not enforce these sort of restrictions on the people. They already enforced you not going to church. They already enforced you not be able to send your kid to school. They already enforced businesses, private businesses, not being able to open. They've already enforced these things. So to sit there and actually say, you know, this won't happen in America, man, I got a bridge to sell you. Keep thinking that. Really, just keep thinking it. So we gotta make sure we stand up, obviously. We gotta make sure we're continuing to fight. But this sort of stuff in Australia, man, it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out, especially now with the booster shots apparently only at about 1.3%. You know, at what point do you say, well, you don't have your boosters, you're not allowed to do anything? And there's a lot of people out there who are just, you know, they're vaccinated. They love vaccines, but they are tired of the bureaucracy around the mandates themselves. They're not against the vaccines, but they're against the bureaucracy of saying, oh, I gotta go in and get this one before this certain time, or I'll lose my job, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. Man, we barely like going to get the tags fixed on our car, right? You know, our tags go out and we go, you know, I got like a month or two before a cop probably pulls me over and gives me a ticket. And we barely do that on time. You think people are gonna get their yearly boosters, which we know is gonna eventually start taking place, a yearly booster? They aren't. They're gonna let them, they're gonna forget about them. They just are. The people who are really concerned will probably keep getting them. But the average person's not. So it'll be interesting to see if they start opening these camps up to people who, who of course, don't get the boosters. It'll be weird to see. Either way, what do you think? What is going on in Australia? At what point do we just say, you know what? You have fallen and you are violating. And just at what point do we say, you know, we should be hauling you in front of the, you know, UN courts basically and say, you know what, you're committing atrocities against your own people? Because at this point, it's more free over there in China than it is in Australia. It's sad to say, but it's true. All right, Australia is a fallen country, and all of you living there, I'm sorry, you've let it fall. You've let it fall. You gave up your right to bear arms, and this is what you sow. I mean, sorry is what it is. Hopefully we don't fall down the same trap here in America. But what do you think? What's going to happen to Australia going forward? What do you think Australia looks like 10 years from now? It'll be really interesting to see, I'll tell you what. Either way, if you've enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up, leave a like. You know, even though you can't see the likes versus dislikes, so I know a lot of people don't really care to leave anything anymore. I'm telling you, likes do help out the channel. So if you do like the content, please give me that thumbs up. It really does help out a lot. As well as, of course, if you enjoy content like this, subscribe to the channel as well. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and we'll be talking again real soon.